Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. You tuned into Educational Insight segment of Inspired Afternoon with me, your host, Maria Mia. And now something that caught my interest. I'm a wordsmith. I love reading, but more than what I love reading is I love when somebody, it's how they write. I just am in awe of people's writing style, and I'm captivated when I read a brilliant piece, because that's for me. Reading should be about enjoyment. Yes, the message is important, but just that enjoyment and the thrill of somebody stringing such a profound sentence together, putting a set of words together that's so profound and so telling, and it just leaves you. I feel mesmerized. I feel just wow, it feels so good. And that's why when I received this post, it said the Ahmad Kathrada Foundation Annual Essay Writing Competition 2020. And then I said, I definitely need to interview them, because I love writing essays, and more than writing them, I love reading them. But pertinent topics. The topic is time to put racism on a permanent lockdown. The second topic is racism, the greatest virus of our time. Topic number three, schools, places of racism without racists. And the requirements is you need to be between the age of 15 and 21. You need to choose a topic. The minimum is 1,000 words and maximum of 1,400 words. Essay should be done in one of the South African official languages. Only one essay per entrant. And the warning, plagiarism will not be tolerated. And there's some exciting prizes up for grabs. A place is 2,000 rand in cash plus a laptop. Second prize is 1,000 rand in cash and a gift of a laptop, or prize or winnings of a laptop. And third place is also 500 rand in cash and a laptop. So all three winners will definitely earn themselves a well-earned laptop as well, to continue, I guess, pursuing your writing or your other endeavors. And I just thought we have a luxury of time as well with lockdown, and something brilliant in terms of putting racism into perspective. And that's why I was so pleased when my producer Zakia got a representative of the competition from the Ahmed Kathara Foundation. And then I said, I need to speak to one of the previous winners. And I was so pleased that Jaydon joined us as well. And like I said earlier, I love reading a good piece, and thus really satisfied me and left me mesmerized, so to speak. So let me welcome Busisiwe Nkosi first from the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation, and then I've got Jaydon Farao on the line as well, and he has been a previous winner, and he's was what I heard. So let me first just speak to Busisiwe all about the competition, and then I want to read something that Jaydon wrote and ask him his experiences in terms of the competition. Welcome to Salam Media. Let me just check. Can you hear me? I'm struggling. Can you turn off your? I'm on mute. Yeah. Can you just unmute me? Okay, now I can hear you. Welcome to Salam Media.
Okay.
So tell me.
No, thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure. Like I said, thus really caught my interest because I'm passionate about writing and essays, and I I would love to be a judge. I just love reading these things, correcting it, and it just fills my soul. I'm this wordsmith. So tell me about. I love your topics, by the way, because it's so apt in terms of putting racism in context and getting our young learners to think about racism in terms of the criteria in your topics. So, do you still think it is relevant today in terms of the topic, especially for this young group of 15 to 21?
Yes, most certainly. I think we've been running with the essay writing competition for 3 years now. This is the fourth.
Mm-hmm.
And every year, our topics range around racism. And the reason we do that is we feel that we need to be giving young people a safe space to be talking about racism, to be talking about their own experiences, but also in talking about what solutions exist You know, it can't just be old people all the time talking about racism and its effects, but how does it affect young people today? But also, what do young people think we should be doing as a country? And at times, you find young people saying that they are being stifled or no one is listening to them, but they don't have those safe spaces, you know. So, as a foundation, you try and create that, and also try and understand young people and learn from them. And in that way,
And
it's also
do you feel their perceptions of racism differ to, and not only perceptions but experiences of racism differ to what it was, say, like when I was growing up 20, 30 years ago, in terms of what we had to endure and experience in terms of racism, and what a 15 to 21-year-old is experiencing and perceive as racism. You know, it was so interesting. The other day I was watching on one of the news channel in terms of that whole definition of racism, and one of the dictionary, I'm just trying to think now which dictionary said they need to actually revise that word of that race, that whole word racism, in terms of what it means in terms of feeling inferior and that, but to include a lot more in terms of racism, because it's a very loaded word and a loaded term, and we need to actually make it more inclusive and actually add to the meaning of racism, because it includes a lot more than the literal meaning of the word racism.
I get what you're saying, but I think it's also the interpretation of what
Mm-hmm.
racism is. And I think young people's interpretation of racism today is not just being sidelined or prejudiced based on the color of their skin, but you have the hair issues that have come into play. You have issues of language, but then also systematic racism that exists within workplaces and within schools and universities. So I think it's just the way of looking at the links or the links of racism.
Okay. And I want to now bring in Jaydon. Good afternoon, Jaydon, and welcome to Solar Media. And thank you for joining
Afternoon.
us. And
Thanks for
Jaydon,
having me.
which year did you enter? Pleasure. Which year did you enter the competition and
So
was a winner?
I entered last year, so for the 2019 competition.
Okay. And where were you placed?
I am in Cape Town, so I am a student at UCT, but I saw the call for the essay topics, and I had written things reflecting on race
Hello,
for
Jaydon,
the
can you hear us?
call. Yes, I can hear you. I
Okay,
saw the
sorry, we
call
lost you for
and
briefly.
I revisited one of the essays I wrote and sort of reflected on some of the prompts that were given by the foundation for the competition.
Yeah, I was just reading yours, and it's so personal and it's so profound, and it just challenges you to the core. When I was reading this, I mean, it left you. I'm just going to read a bit of it. What I've heard. When I was 10, I got into the habit of eavesdropping on adult conversations, a perilous and thrilling endeavor. It was around this age when I first heard the word I wasn't supposed to hear. A relative had uttered it with the casualness of a Sunday afternoon stroll. The context of the conversation eludes my memory, but the word's pronouncement remains inedible. They said the K word. The way in which the words strolled from their mouth, briefly sitting on their lips, only to rush out and permeate the innocence of my ears, was horrifying. And then Jaydon goes on to say, I've been grappling with these thoughts as I entered adulthood while simultaneously entering my racial identity crisis. I flushed out what it means to live in a city as racially segregated as Cape Town, trying to dismantle the social and spatial obstructions that remain strongly built by apartheid. Some of those structures affording me opportunities while concurrently obstructing my dignity. Um, I can go on here, and I'm so excited because the message is deep here. it's a reflection, a personal message, Jaydon. But at the same time, yes, it's an essay writing competition, and that's what it is. I mean, in terms of your writing style and your captivating in terms of it being an essay, really it's really a beautiful piece and really well written, and I can see why you caught the judge's attention in terms of that piece, because while we're debating racism, I think that's the challenge behind it. It's an essay, it needs to be profound, it needs to be meaningful. And like just reading it here by myself, your words are just going to be with me all the time, so it has this longer lasting effect. Was that your intention with the competition, Busisiwe, in terms of putting it in an essay, because it remains there, it's profound, and also we can start having conversations around these pieces of work?
Yes, I think that's the idea. And for us, it was the more personalized.
Busisiwe, can you hear us?
Is the better for
Okay,
us,
I
because then
lost you
you truly
briefly.
understand people are. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead.
Now, I'm saying that's exactly what we wanted out of our essays. We wanted young people to be giving us their own experiences. I think they're day-to-day life experiences. And one of the things you've realized is that within our own families, we say things and we do things and no one calls us out. But if you have young people who are aware that this is wrong, and they can start being the change makers within their own homes, within their own schools and society at large.
And that's what I love. Today's children, that's what I love about young children. Although I say, because in our time, your modesty and your virtue was a mark of your respect and your sign of respect. And like you say, you dare not call an elder out, whether it was an elder auntie or whatever they were doing, and it was wrong. You'd never, I mean, you'd get a stare from your mom, your eyes would light up like this, and you in for hiding, irrespective of that adult is wrong. We were not allowed to correct them. If we call them out, it was a problem. But nowadays things have changed, because my own children, if I do something and which they feel, it's not socially acceptable, it's not, you will have young children calling you out and actually guiding you. And I don't think it's much of a sign of disrespect, but also that everybody, you're never too old to learn. And we as adults, we grew up with a certain perceptions and attitudes, and we need to see things differently for what it really is. And if it means a paradigm shift and a younger person guiding us to this, then I think this is profound. So, Jaydon, yours is a very personal journey. How do you react in terms of you hearing your family this experience, talking so casually in terms of this language, and that did it struck a nerve for you at 10 years old, or as you grow older, especially in Cape Town, that you begin to see things, at odds with what you see, how you perceive the world?
Yeah, when I at 10, it already made me deeply uncomfortable. I think we also just have even as children, have a sense of when hate is being spoken out or spoken about, and in that we are often conditioned into looking at certain kinds of people in different ways. So even then, it made me uncomfortable. But growing up, my view of race, living in Cape Town, definitely changed. Sort of witnessing the lines drawn physically, and as part of the communal spaces we occupy in schooling and in residential areas. So I think that growing up in Cape Town, you have a particular perspective of what it means to be Black, what it means to be so-called colored, what it means to be white. And unfortunately, sometimes the work done in homes sticks with you, and you almost don't have an opportunity to imagine a different world than your home or your community, because often that's exactly how the city was set out to do, for you to think about things in a particular way, for you to imagine spaces in a particular way, and in doing so build up walls between you and your fellow your fellow brothers and sisters living in your city, living in your communities. So I think as an adult, I began to lower those walls. I began to see those walls lower as I read more, as I engaged more outside of my own community, and being given that opportunity that led to some of the reflections that I speak about in the piece.
And do you see yourself? Well, I think through your writing, definitely you are that architect of change. You're one of those warriors that are going to go. And you know what? Because we can discuss this and chew the fat and just go in a circle in circle. But the thing is, we need to break the chain. We need to break that
Mhm.
circle. And I think uh, through your writing and you a young, dynamic South African, it's going to be youth like you that are going to be the architect of change. And people, we need to see people for who they are as individual people, and not in terms of our color or our race or creed or that, but to understand people as people. And that's what we need to do. Is I think now we have to be warriors and architects of change. And I'm so pleased a young perceptive person like yourself is actually that architect of change.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges amongst both young and older people is often a lack of engagement with history. And I think that's sort of where we also really need to focus a lot of our efforts, both in schooling and both as in our personal lives, really grapple with a history beyond the textbooks that we are taught, because I think then we will also start conceptualizing and understanding how race is constructed and how race exists in our society. And I think once we get to that understanding, then we can start doing the really hard work of dismantling and reimagining a world in which race can matter less. But in doing so, it does require a reckoning. It requires a point where, as a society, we place the mirror up, and I think we haven't quite gotten there yet. But I am hopeful, especially for younger people, to expand our imagination of that world.
And I'm so pleased that Busisiwe, in terms of the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation, this is the space that the foundation is created. This is one of the, I think, platforms of this foundation is to create that space and also to facilitate this discussions and also to be that agent of change and to move forward and to have this discussions. And I think I love that you're having a creative ways in doing this in terms of your essay and engaging young people in terms of this, because that's what we need to do. And I know the foundation is committed in terms of injustice, racism, and I love the innovative ways in which the foundation goes about doing this uh, and getting young people to discuss things, to have dialogues as well in different formats. And also, I commend you because also it's fully inclusive in terms of the essay can be written in any official language. So it's not already prejudicing anybody who's strong. Your mother tongue, you might be fluent in Venda and you speak well in Venda, and you might not be able to articulate that feeling. What you're saying in English in terms of the nuances and that. I mean, Jaydon, you I can see are proficient in English. You write well, but somebody who might have a strong opinion and write well in Venda, and now to translate this thing, it's going to be lost in translation. It's not going to be an essay. So I love that you said all 11 official languages. I mean, we wouldn't expect anything less of the Ahmed Kazrala Foundation if it wasn't that inclusive.
Yes, no, I think for us also, it's just promoting that sense of
Mm-hmm.
language within South Africans, because we have so many official languages that at times the only focus is on English, which is
Mm-hmm.
something that you want to get rid of. You want people to appreciate their own languages, but also for others to try and learn other languages. Let us learn
Exactly.
another language as South Africans. Let us build that inclusive society. It can't be that every time I want to communicate with my friend or my colleague, I need to be using English. let us get to that point where
Mm.
we learn each other's languages, and in that way we're celebrating our own country's diversity. So yeah, I look
And we
forward to.
understand each other better. And in
Yeah,
doing so, we understand each other better. And that's what I find when you engage one-on-one from somebody outside your race, your creed, you after a while you become colleagues and you become friends and you see each other as individuals, and you can engage with them, and it's so true how the way our mind is made up. You no longer see that race. You just see a person that I'm connecting with, and it just makes life more colorful, more meaningful, and we share in our diversity, but then we still remain connected as individuals, as human beings,
true,
and share in the
true.
humanity. And so I'm so pleased I've got to have this conversation with you. Jaydon, any tips for those youngsters who are attempting this essay competition? Can we get some insider tips from him, please? Any tips in terms of writing this competition? Because they after all, it's a competition. There are prizes up for
Yeah.
grabs. There's money up for grabs. That is good motivation. There's laptops there. So I mean, those are really must-haves for young teenagers now and young adults. So any tips in terms of writing this competition? The closing date is the 21st July. Am I correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so give us some tips for all the youngsters listening here in terms of being one of the first three.
Yeah, I think they need to start early, and try
Mm-hmm.
and get multiple drafts or at least a few drafts out. And the advice for especially that first draft is just to write as if there's no one else. No one else is going to read it but you, because that's the truth. That first draft is only seen by you. And the second thing with that draft, it's also be honest. That's really, be honest with your story, be honest with your experience, because I think people underestimate how easy it is to read that honesty and feel that honesty. So I think make sure you start early, write without limitations, as if no one else but you is gonna read it, and be honest with your story, because it is important. I think everybody has a story to tell. Whether you consider yourself a good writer, a writer at all, it is important just to get something on the page, whether you even think you're going to submit it or not. Making that first step will put you closer to both reflecting on your experience and hopefully submitting that piece to the competition and possibly winning the prize.
Okay, so there you have it. What Jaydon he's saying is the German saying goes, sink or swim, but jump in. So whether you want to submit or not, but write something. So as I say, sink or swim. And where can we get further details? Is it on the Ahmed Kathrada website? All the competition
So
details displayed.
So yes, the competition details can be found on the foundation's website, and it can also be found on the foundation's Twitter handle and the Facebook handles. So it's there
Okay,
on
and
social
then what?
media.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is, once the winners have been notified and everything's out there, and what we'll do is we'll get you in again with this year's winners. Can we make a date with this year's winners and maybe have a little longer segment and we can read some of the things? So I'm in August, sometime in August, we're gonna get you back with the winners of this year's prizes. So good luck to everybody, and please do enter. And yeah, let's get conversations going. Let's understand each other. Let's bond. Thanks so much, Busisiwe and Jaydon, for joining me here on Educational
Thank you,
Insights
Shukran.
on Salam Media.
Thank you
Thank you.
so
And
much for
that's
having me.
it's a pleasure. That's today's show, and I'll be here back same time, same place tomorrow at 2 to 4 on Inspired Afternoons with me, your host, Mariam Mia.